Hello everyone, my name is Christopher Canavan. I am the Director of Product Marketing at Learn.com, and I would like to take just 5 minutes of your time to introduce you to FormFlow. FormFlow is a product by Learn.com that enables any organization to very easily create online custom forms. These forms can be something very simple like a vacation request form or something more complicated like a government SF-182 form that can have many workflow levels to them. Because FormFlow is a fully graphical user interface based tool, you can literally create and deploy a form in just minutes. I'm going to prove that to you in just a few minutes here when we get into a demo, but some of the types of forms that you can create with FormFlow can be things like reimbursement forms, online surveys, check request forms, purchase orders, vacation and travel request forms, and again, some more complicated government forms. And again, very easy to use, fully integrated, fully dynamic GUI-based tool for the creation, deployment, and management of online forms. So just think, being able to convert all those paper-based forms that you are currently using within your organization into an online system very simply, very easily. So if you would, I would like you to stick with me for just a couple moments here. I am going to show you step by step how to create, manage, and deploy a form within FormFlow. I am currently on a blank page within our system. All you can see at this point is the WYSIWYG editor along the top of the toolbar. If you've ever used a product like Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel, a lot of these commands are already going to be familiar to you. This is all HTML based, so if you are more comfortable with a product like FrontPage or Dreamweaver to do your web design, you could certainly design this form outside of the platform, import that HTML back into the Learn.com system, and then add your form elements. But we make it very easy to create custom forms. First and foremost, you need to let the system know that you are starting a form. To do that, you place a form start element. So I am going to place that. We are going to get a dialog here asking us to name our form. This is important because when we go to pull this data out of this form at a later time, you will need to recall what the name of this form is. For the sake of the demo, we'll do a very simple time off request form. This will be if an employee was going to request some time off from the organization. You can get a little bit deeper in your description if you want to. I won't for the sake of time, but you do want to do a message after submission because what this is going to do is give the user a message after they have submitted their form, letting them know that it was successfully submitted. So I will just type something very easily here. And this will just let the user know that their form has been successfully submitted. Our post handler is going to be our form flow handler within the system, so it's going to handle the workflow of our form. And then we just very easily save this, and you can see from the element placed on the page that we are starting the design of our form. Okay, now that we have let the system know that we are starting the design of our form, we can begin placing our form elements. Typically, you would place form elements within some kind of container. A table is very typical of a HTML designed form. We make it very easy to create a table within the system. You can easily create the number of columns and number of rows that you want for your table and then begin placing form elements. For the sake of time, I already have a table pre-created here. We are going to be, again, doing an employee time off request. Again, a very simple table here, some rows and some columns and some text, and we are ready to begin placing our form elements. So if I was to click in our last name field here, we then have the selector for Insert Form field. We're going to bring up our user view mode, and here you can see the various values that we can insert within this field. I am going to select a standard dynamic form field, meaning that the user can enter a free-form text within this field, although certainly you can go with something a little bit dynamic like a user field. Then you can get your standard fields. You can choose, for instance, the user's last name, and you can return this. And because the system already knows information about this user because they are logged in, knows things like their first name, their last name, potentially their department, their manager, things like that, you can pull those dynamic fields right from within the system. Or you can use static fields and have employee fill that information out themselves if you need the employee to actually type their name for something like an electronic signature. We'll use a standard text box here. We'll place the employee name and we will use a dynamic form field, meaning just that the employee is going to be typing their name within the system. We would save that and return it, and you would see that the form field would be placed within this form. We would then continue to build out our form. So we've already done employee's last name, just as easy to do their first name. You place your cursor, you choose the insert form field. We are choosing user view here, and then you would check your form type. So this form relies very heavily on text boxes. We're having an employee fill out their user information like first name, last name, department, their time they're taking off, their signature, and their date to submit this time off request form. But we offer many different types of field types. So pretty much no matter how complicated the form is that you're creating, if you need list boxes, radio buttons, check boxes, if you're doing any kind of electronic signature on this form where you are requiring an employee to type their electronic signature, you could do that all from within the design of this. So again, we are placing an employee's first name. It is going to be a text box. We can then pull whether or not we want this to be a static text box or more dynamic. Dynamic meaning it's going to pull this from the database. We can then submit this and place this element, and then their first name would be automatically populated into this form. You can then continue on through this form, placing elements for the remainder of the form. You will need to create an element or a text box for each one of these, their date range and their number of days off, also for employee approval and manager approval. And I already have a form pre-populated with all the form field elements placed in. One more element we do need to place, and that is a form end. We already told the system we've started our form. We do also need to tell the system that we are ending our form. Very easy there. That's a separate button within the WYSIWYG editor. You would just do an insert form end, and the form end would be placed, and then your form is created. So from here, all that's left is to save our form. So we'll return to the system here. And we'll go into preview mode and take a look at what our form looks like when it's rendered. Again, pretty nice for just a couple minutes of designing our form. We have all our field elements there. An employee can then go in and fill out this form. Now, once this form is complete, you can place it anywhere within the system, tear up those old vacation request paper forms that you have within the office, and make this your place to go when you are doing a vacation request. So let's fill out this form and give it a try. We'll do a test user here. Let's say we are going with John Smith. We are placing John Smith within the IT department. And let's say John Smith is going to take a vacation from, let's say, 0506 to the 10th. Number of days off. Very typical of a vacation request form. The employee is then going to approve this. This is going to act as his kind of electronic signature, letting him know and his manager know that these are the days that he would like to take off for. So employee can enter John Smith, enter today's current date, which is the 5th, and then the employee can submit it. Okay, so one more piece I want to show you here. We've showed you the design of a form. We've showed a submission of a form. Now we need to show you how to get that data out of the form. As you can see here, I am back in our WYSIWYG editor. We are going to place one more form element to pull that data from that form. So when a manager or an HR rep goes in to take a look at the time off request, they can get that in the design of the platform. So very easy to pull that data out of a form. I am going to go into our dynamic object editor here, and I am going to choose form flow. Very easy. We're going to create a form flow report. We are going to select the form that we just designed. So I am going to pull up our form list. We'll get a list of all the forms that are designed within our system. We'll pull the time off request submission. We will return that. This is letting the system know that this is the form that we want to look at. You'll then get the summary. So here's everything we just chose. Here's all our display columns. We will then return selected, and our form view element would place on the page. So from here, what we can do is we can save this and view it. So let's save our form view. We will go back out into our preview area, and let's take a look at the data that gets pulled. So here we can see John Smith. This is who we just entered data from. He made a vacation request on 5/6 for 5 days to 5/10. This is the data that we just pulled through the column selector in that. So that's all I have to show you today. Thank you for taking the time to look at FormFlow, our form creation software from Learn.com. We looked at a very simple time off request form today, but certainly FormFlow can handle forms no matter how complicated they are. If there's advanced workflow, manager approval, e-signature, any of those kind of things, FormFlow certainly can handle it. We'd love to show you more in depth on FormFlow, and we hope we'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.